I don't know about the rest of you, but my mother always taught me to treat others the way I would like to be treated. The golden rule. While I tried to listen to her, the message never really sunk in until she took me on hikes to high places where we could look out at the land. From up high, it was the simple things I would notice. The way sun fell into snow. Snow pushed out water. Water looked for other water. And I could see the river below. Below me was the accumulation of many smaller actions. The golden rule and its manifestation playing out in front of me. No words necessary. I gained clarity and vision in the most literal way, but I was one of the lucky ones. I call it the vantage advantage. You see, others my age suffer, looking into their palms with superficial spectacles, telling them what to buy because they're 40% cheaper than the other guy. Happy-faced rollbacks that are only $1 all summer make children blind. I refuse to accept this set of lies. I refuse to compromise. I will politely refuse to exercise my right to remain silent. About the cost on our society when youth are forced to look at life through these lenses. So I went to work at a summer camp. My job, to reposition children's vision, about 31.6 degrees from palm to horizon, to set their eyes on the land and sea. With each day came an epiphany of simplicity, seeds of stewardship and compassion planted neatly. But the kids in Jasper have helped to plant a seed of a different sort. A living building, they call it, a classroom that teaches vision. Real vision, by design. Rebuilding the muscles in the eyes to again be able to see where water comes from and where it goes. Yes, that's what it's come to. Desperate times have called for desperate measures. And last year around this time, a Seattle architect gave us a call to arms against traditional standards where buildings are just walls. We created a space where the status quo is effortlessly replaced by the manifestation of my childhood lesson. The seed is a manifestation of our desire to create vision. Students will learn the consequence for their actions not through punishment, but through a compostable toilet. The seed will nourish mind after mind while gently planting a seedling of hope each time. It is with these seedlings that we'll be able to root people deeper into place. This is huge. You know what else? We did it in Alberta. I mean, what do you know about Alberta? Oil sands bitumen Keystone Pipeline. That's quite the identity. Not that people are ever guilty of judging others by where they're from. But I promise you all, I don't know one Albertan who has the end goal to single-handedly destroy the earth. Except maybe Nickelback. We are a people that already have deep connections to the land, other than strip mining and fracking. We love nature and we are a province ripe and ready for innovation and environmental recognition. So, what can a bunch of Albertan youth do when they've had the vantage advantage but can't vote on how resources are used or extracted? They can plant a seed to help others. Our seed will become a greenhouse of hope, an education that nurtures the golden rule. But in the meantime, where seeds aren't growing.
Cool.
Education is intended to prepare us for the future. Apparently, our future is destined to be filled with quadratic equations and the functions of single-celled organisms. Our world is dying, and the education system is not giving us the tools to fix it. You don't have to be David Suzuki to realize that there is an issue with the system, and it's no wonder when in schools, learning to derive acceleration from a velocity formula takes precedence over learning to solve problems like overconsumption, massive destruction, acid rain, and growing pain with a hands-on method. Something is not right. When we hold our youth in captivity and teach them to listen in quiet passivity instead of teaching them to think for themselves, again, it points to a flaw in our system. We are graded and degraded on our knowledge of the knowledge of others. We dedicate so much time and effort into learning the theories others declared important that the ideas swimming through our own minds are often ignored. These ideas then end up playing second fiddle. All this for the sake of passing a test. Because, as we all know, if we can't succeed on paper, we can't succeed in real life. If we continue on in this manner, how can we expect any improvement in how the world works? Children are the seeds of society. If we keep on planting and teaching them in the same toxic soil in which we were taught, nothing is going to get better. It's not. The seed project represents a change in soil, where their roots can start fighting real-world problems underground before they emerge to the real world. It's a new breed of construction that won't cause destruction and improves production of mind. The schools we're used to are oddly like prisons. 4 white walls, fluorescent lights, and authority figures breathing down your neck as you do what they tell you. The seed room has color and sunlight and plants. Its beauty inspires, and we were the ones who conspired in its design. It will be a place to learn for the sake of learning, instead of learning for the sake of earning a big number on a report card, which leads to people working for the sake of earning a big number on a paycheck, instead of working for the sake of the passion inside them. I have a question for you. Is this your definition of success? Maybe it's just the John Lennon in me, but I believe that happiness is more than just richness. In order to achieve this happiness, we must drop our convention of using retention of textbook drawl to define our academic success. We aim to make learning active and interactive so the students will be reactive. After all, I'd sooner live in a world of thinkers and doers than textbook reciters. Kids need to know that they have the right to a world that's not falling to pieces, and they have the right to know how to fix it themselves. And perhaps then, one day, it won't be broken. One day.
One day, around, 1673, a man was sitting under a tree and discovered what we know as gravity. So, what does this mean? Does this mean that before the apple fell towards the ground, we didn't know that what goes up must come down? Well, sure we did, but we needed a white guy in a wig to say, it is gravity, to make it true. So that is a scientific truth, a truth defined by a number or a sum, and in this case, of course, it is 9.81. But didn't the indigenous peoples know of gravity thousands of years prior to when Newton discovered it in ruffled attire? They knew enough to not have to sit under these trees. They knew because their relationships with their surroundings was strong. And not only scientifically, but culturally, spiritually, linguistically, ecologically, and intrinsically. And pretty much any other Lee you can think of. This is holistic truth, a truth defined by a relationship with life. So, if indigenous peoples did discover gravity, why don't we know about it? Because holistic truth cannot be found with calculation. Therefore, there is no documentation, so to our society, it is trivialized. And this is exactly our problem. What if we were to approach everything holistically? Because, really, can truth be quantified? I know I still have much knowledge to acquire, but I guarantee even when I retire, there will be no formula for truth. Let's look at an example. 20% of North American youth have a mental health disorder, and this number is rising. Yes, this is a statistical truth, but can we respond to it with a scientific statistical solution? Should we just invest more money into pharmaceuticals to create a generation that believes taking pills is therapeutical? Or should we recognize the dangerous underlying disconnect that interjects between youth and a relationship with life? Should we step back and look at the grand scheme to attempt to restore youth self-esteem? What if we integrated youth instead of neglecting? Would that lead us all to be more self-respecting? What if we stopped suspecting, disconnecting, and attempting at perfecting? What if we just stopped making them subordinate? Would they begin to feel more valuable? What if we all look for answers to problems together? Do you see the contrast? Strictly scientific solutions compartmentalize science and the human perspective. So we must combine the two and weave them both through our learning. Because I'm sick of my physics book asking me to ignore the effects of friction and solve each question with the same unrealistic repetition. Not to mention my other favorite, ignore the effects of gravity. Ignore the effects of gravity, Well, please humor me. Assuming that Michael Jordan and Buzz Aldrin aren't around, has anyone ever managed to haphazardly steer themselves into a system with no friction or no gravity? I mean, how are we supposed to be a part of this great and mysterious solution that's needed so desperately if we are learning of generalized methods that would just never work architecturally? Do you see the relation, or should I say lack of relation, between our education and holistic truth? No wonder we kids are so bored in class. We don't even solve problems in their scientific entirety, and we don't even begin to look at the holistic horizons. And not only are we getting bored, but we are beginning to get discouraged. 75% of youth in environmental clubs feel that they will make no sustainable impact on the world. I am aware it is another statistical truth, and I know you're aware that a statistical solution will not shift this saddening mindset. So let's try and solve this, shall we? Forget about the calculators and the formula sheets. Let's really solve this. We need to allow youth to participate and generate solutions in green building and green planning. We must integrate youth and use holistic truth. We must harness that idealism found in the young and realize that maybe it isn't all that far flung and use it to create an innovative, restorative future. This is the answer. Well, at least I think so. Maybe once I go drop an apple on my head, I'll know for sure. Until then, this leads me to my simple solution. We need to look at things holistically in order to solve the problems presented to us statistically. But that's just what I think. I'd hate to intervene. After all, I'm only 17, right?
My generation, we're full of potential, but we show it in odd ways. Facebook is used for duck faces, cute captivating cats, and the very popular love quotes, "If you're a bird, I'm a bird." We tweet our flock of followers, chirping for popularity. But technology is at the tip of our fingers, a web filled with billions of flies buzzing into the net, youth being caught among a world of information and possibilities. Let's share our stories. Poke the people who have doubts, like those which have succeeded, update our cover photo to the beauty we want to observe, and a profile picture with us after we fulfill our dreams. You see, youth are nothing but a bunch of rebels without a cause, unless traditions and standards aren't seen as truths cast in iron, but as guidelines made of silly putty and rainbow-colored Play-Doh. Plato once said, "One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors." So we must give youth the opportunity, not the audacity, to hope. Hope that we break this perpetual cycle of old procedures, the same building standards. We were once lost in Box Store Ridge, next to McDonald's Estates, by Best Buy Point, and across from Target Housing, among a city of cookie-cutter homes. My father and I, small mountain town guys, way out of our element. At home, we could climb from the top of any mountain and find our way home. But in a city of identical buildings, it was like walking through a labyrinth, with or without David Bowie. Education is that endless hallway, that suburb. No true endpoint, no real foundation for students to see their place, get their bearings. Classically conditioned to be and serve consumers, domesticated by this efficient, ever-emerging economic system. We roll over and shake our paw for the owners feeding us sometimes pointless employment and education. What if we were resilient? Resiliency is defined as the ability to positively respond or adapt to and cope with a stressful experience. But we need something new. Resilience 2.0, defined as the ability to adopt a solid set of beliefs and principles that are meant to regenerate the world. What if we choose to no longer follow the flowing Amazon of convention, if we united with all the idealists who never took no for an answer, who found their voice among the endless number of hesitant builders, architects, stockholders, naysayers, and chose to only positively impact our Earth, work hard for what we want, ignore the urge to continue building bombs. We could destroy our Earth many times over, but can't seem to find a way to sustain it once. We are moonwalkers, even if you think it was staged. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Make the world our green screen, create the background we want, convince the world that we can move forward, our ideas really aren't that far-fetched. So now I ask, what keeps you going? Because this keeps me going. This evident refusal to alter, always being told, that will never work, it's not practical, sensible. Me? My vision is resilient. Jonathan Swift once wrote, "Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. The unseen vision of a seed which can spread around the world, one classroom at a time. I see a world willing to change, willing to listen, willing to collaborate. Our vision is no longer invisible. A living building philosophy, a guide for the education in the 21st century. We just need our vision to catch fire, ignite regeneration, and spread seeds through every last forest of reluctant minds." My name is Brad Anselmo, and we are the Jasper Sustainability Club for Youth.